The massive ship appeared without warning in Earth's orbit, its crystalline surface refracting sunlight across the planet like an artificial aurora. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in mission control, her heart racing as she processed the implications of what their sensors were telling them. The vessel was 3 kilometers long, constructed of materials that defied analysis, and had somehow bypassed every early warning system humanity had established. "They're broadcasting on all frequencies," announced Marcus Webb, their communications chief. "Universal mathematical sequences. Wait, they're shifting to English. They've already decoded our languages." The message that followed would change humanity forever. "Greetings, Earth. We are the Galactic Assembly. Your species has finally advanced enough to warrant contact." What followed was a carefully choreographed diplomatic dance. The Assembly's representatives, the Arxer, appeared remarkably humanoid despite their silvery skin and ethereal movements. They spoke of peace, cooperation, and Earth's integration into a vast community of spacefaring civilizations. Their technology seemed miraculous, their knowledge vast, and their intentions apparently benevolent. Dr. Chen, appointed as humanity's chief scientific liaison, noticed the first discrepancy 3 months into the cultural exchange. The Assembly's gravitational technology, while impressive, relied on principles Earth scientists had already theorized but abandoned in favor of more efficient approaches. When she tried to discuss this with her Arxer counterpart, the conversation was smoothly redirected. The pattern continued. Each technological gift from the Assembly seemed carefully chosen, deliberately limited. Earth's representatives were shown wonders, but denied detailed explanations. Questions about other young civilizations were deflected. Access to the Assembly's database was restricted to specific areas. The truth began to emerge when a junior analyst in the Quantum Communications Department, Maya Patel, discovered something impossible: signal echoes that shouldn't exist. Earth had been receiving transmissions from other civilizations for decades, but something had been intercepting and dampening them, preventing first contact until the Assembly deemed it appropriate. Dr. Chen took this discovery to Admiral James Torres, head of Earth's new Space Defense Force. "They've been isolating us deliberately," she explained, displaying the evidence on his secure terminal. "And we're not the only ones. We've detected similar dampening fields around at least 12 other star systems with emerging civilizations." Torres studied the data, his expression grim. "The question is why? Why control first contact so precisely?" The answer came from an unexpected source. During a routine maintenance check of an Assembly gift, an atmospheric purification system, engineers discovered a hidden subroutine. The device wasn't just cleaning air. It was analyzing Earth's entire industrial output, cataloging resources, and transmitting the data back to the Assembly. "We're not being uplifted," Dr. Chen realized during an emergency meeting with Earth's Unified Council. "We're being assessed, cataloged, like a resource waiting to be exploited." Further investigation revealed the truth about the Assembly structure. The dominant species controlled vast corporate entities that monopolized galactic trade. New civilizations were carefully managed, their development guided along predetermined paths that would make them dependent on Assembly technology and trade networks. The Assembly had perfected the art of conquest through bureaucracy. No weapons were needed when you could control a civilization's entire development, guiding them into economic servitude while making them believe they were being helped. But they had made a crucial mistake with humanity. By the time they initiated contact, Earth had already developed key technologies along different paths than the Assembly's prescribed progression. Humanity's isolation had forced them to find unique solutions to physics problems, solutions that in many cases surpassed the Assembly's carefully controlled technology. "We need to keep this quiet," Admiral Torres advised the Council. "Let them think their deception is working. Meanwhile, we'll prepare." The Council agreed. Earth would play along with the Assembly's games while secretly preparing for independence. They would accept the gifts while developing their own technology. They would smile at the Assembly's representatives while building alliances with other subjugated species. Most importantly, they would let the Assembly believe they had successfully ensnared another innocent civilization in their web of control. The Assembly's representatives continued their diplomatic mission, unaware that their carefully constructed deception was already unraveling. In her private lab, Dr. Chen studied the quantum signal data that had revealed the truth. "They thought isolation would make us weak," she murmured to herself. "Instead, it made us strong. And soon, they're going to learn exactly how strong we've become." The first phase of humanity's greatest challenge was beginning. The Assembly had spent millennia perfecting their system of control. But they had never encountered a species quite like humanity, and they were about to discover that some cages aren't strong enough to hold their prey. 6 months after the Assembly's arrival, Earth's facade of technological inferiority was becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. Dr. Sarah Chen watched through reinforced windows as engineers tested their latest quantum shield technology in a hidden facility beneath the Antarctic ice. The shimming barrier effortlessly absorbed energy beams that would have overwhelmed the Assembly's advanced defensive systems. Another successful test, Maya Patil announced, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. "Our shields are at least 3 generations ahead of anything the Assembly has shown us. The real challenge is making our public facilities look appropriately primitive." The deception required constant vigilance. Earth had constructed an elaborate network of fake research facilities filled with deliberately outdated technology for Assembly inspectors to examine. Meanwhile, the real advances continued in secret locations scattered across the planet and in underwater bases. Admiral Torres arrived with news from the diplomatic front. "The Assembly's latest trade proposal just arrived. They're offering us their cutting-edge molecular fabrication technology in exchange for exclusive mining rights to the asteroid belt. Their molecular fabricators are practically Stone Age compared to ours," Maya scoffed, pulling up a comparison diagram. "We achieved atomic-level precision 2 years ago. They're still working with basic molecular chains." The Admiral's expression remained serious. "That's not what concerns me. Look at the fine print in their proposal." He highlighted a section of the document. "They're demanding unrestricted access to monitor all space traffic in our system if they discover our hidden shipyards in the Kuiper Belt." Dr. Chen understood the implications. Earth had been secretly constructing a fleet using technology that would shock the Assembly. While their visitors bragged about ships that could reach 1/10 light speed, humanity had already achieved faster-than-light travel through quantum tunneling. The real breakthrough came when Dr. Chen's team discovered the true nature of the Assembly's control system. They weren't just monitoring developing civilizations. They were actively suppressing technological advancement through carefully targeted signal interference. "It's brilliant, in a horrible way," she explained to Earth's Security Council. "Their dampening fields don't just block communications. They create subtle quantum disruptions that make certain technological developments appear to fail." They'd been steering species down specific technological paths for thousands of years. But humanity's isolation had worked in their favor. Earth's scientists, forced to solve problems without outside influence, had pursued theoretical approaches the Assembly had long abandoned. The result was a technological base that operated on fundamentally different principles. The challenge now was gathering allies without revealing their advantage. Through carefully encrypted quantum channels that the Assembly couldn't detect, Earth had begun reaching out to other subjugated civilizations. The Nexians, silicon-based beings who had been forced into mining their own world's resources. The Valai, energy creatures confined to specific regions of space by Assembly protection protocols. Each contact revealed new horrors of the Assembly's exploitation. "We've confirmed that the Assembly is lying about their population numbers," Maya reported during a secure briefing. "They claim to represent thousands of species, but our deep scans show only about 40 species in positions of real power. The rest are essentially corporate slaves." The Assembly's control wasn't just economic. It was enforced through a complex web of technological dependencies. Member species were given technology that required constant maintenance from assembly specialists. Their ships couldn't function without assembly-provided fuel. Their communication systems were entirely dependent on assembly networks. But humanity had developed something unprecedented. Through technological independence, Earth's quantum computers operated on principles the assembly couldn't monitor. Their ships used energy sources the assembly couldn't detect. Their communication system was invisible to assembly surveillance. "We're almost ready for the next phase," Admiral Torres announced during a classified meeting. "Our stealth ships have mapped every assembly monitoring station in our sector. We've identified their command and control nodes. Most importantly, we've located their primary quantum dampening facilities." Dr. Chen studied the gathered intelligence with growing confidence. The assembly had spent millennia building a prison of technology and bureaucracy, but they had never imagined one of their captives might develop tools that could break those chains. "How many other species have they contacted recently?" she asked, examining the data. "3 in the past year," Maya replied. "The Zin, the Krith, and the Morrigan, all rich in resources the assembly wants, all being guided down the same technological dead ends." "Then it's time," Dr. Chen decided. "We can't let this continue." Humanity didn't just develop better technology. We developed technology that can free others. The assembly built their power on controlled technological progression. Let's show them what real innovation looks like. In secure facilities across Earth and throughout the solar system, humanity's true capabilities were about to be revealed. The assembly thought they were dealing with another primitive species learning to crawl. They were about to discover they had helped awaken a giant. The Nexian crystal ship dropped out of quantum space in Earth's shadow, invisible to assembly sensors. Its crystalline structure contained Vector, the first diplomatic representative of a growing coalition of resistant species. Dr. Sarah Chen watched from the secure dock as the being emerged, a towering humanoid figure composed of living silicon, refracting light in mesmerizing patterns. "Welcome to Earth," she said, as their quantum translator synchronized. "I trust your journey through our hidden corridors was successful. Your quantum tunneling technology is remarkable." Vector replied, their crystalline form-shifting colors in what humans had learned was an expression of amazement. "The assembly believes such travel is theoretically impossible. Yet here we are, moving between stars without their knowledge." The meeting that followed would reshape the galaxy. In a secure chamber deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, representatives from 12 species gathered physically for the first time. The Villi appeared as swirling clouds of conscious energy. The Morrigan, latest victims of assembly manipulation, sent their biotechnology experts. The Krith, insectoid engineers whose true capabilities had been suppressed for centuries, brought evidence of assembly sabotage. Admiral Torres opened the historic session. "We've confirmed what many of you suspected. The assembly's control isn't just economic. It's enforced through active technological suppression. But humanity has developed ways to bypass their systems, and we're ready to share." Dr. Chen presented their findings, showing how the assembly's quantum dampening fields could be neutralized. Maya Patel demonstrated Earth's independent communication network, operating on principles the assembly couldn't detect. Each revelation brought waves of excitement from the gathered species. "But why help us?" asked Zinra, a serpentine being whose people had been reduced to mining their own world's resources for assembly corporations. "You could use this advantage for yourselves." "Because the assembly system is fundamentally wrong," Dr. Chen replied. "They've created a galaxy of servants, suppressing countless species' potential. Imagine what we could all achieve if we were truly free to develop." The coalition began taking shape. Each species had developed unique technologies despite assembly control, having found their own paths around restrictions. The Villi had mastered energy manipulation. The Nexians understood crystal computing in ways that surpass even Earth's quantum systems. The Krith had secretly perfected biotechnology that could transform worlds. Together, they began weaving a hidden network throughout assembly space. Earth's quantum tunneling technology provided untraceable transport. Nexian crystal ships, now enhanced with human stealth systems, moved between systems establishing secret bases. The Valai created secure energy channels for instantaneous communication. Most importantly, they began sharing knowledge. Centuries of suppressed research and banned technologies emerged from hidden archives. The assembly had forced each species to develop in isolation, but now their combined knowledge was creating innovations that would have been impossible alone. "We've detected assembly ships approaching the Morrigan system," Maya reported during an emergency session. "They're preparing to implement their standard resource extraction protocols." The coalition faced its first test. Using their combined technologies, they launched a counter-operation. When assembly ships arrived, they found their dampening fields mysteriously malfunctioning. Their scanning systems returned false readings. Their communication networks experienced inexplicable delays. The assembly relies on their technology working perfectly, Admiral Torres explained to the Coalition Council. They've never faced an opponent who could disrupt their systems. But together, we understand their technology better than they do. The resistance spread silently through the galaxy. On countless worlds, oppressed species began receiving mysterious packages, quantum-shielded data crystals containing instructions for bypassing assembly control systems. Hidden manufacturing facilities, combining technology from multiple species, began producing ships and weapons the assembly couldn't detect. Dr. Chen worked tirelessly with her counterparts from other worlds, combining their scientific knowledge in ways the assembly had never imagined possible. The Valai's energy manipulation made Earth's quantum tunneling more efficient. Nexian crystal computing enhanced human AI systems. Krith biotechnology merged with Earth's nanotechnology. The assembly's greatest mistake, she told her fellow scientists, was forcing us all to develop in isolation. They thought it would keep us weak and dependent. Instead, they created species who learned to solve problems in completely different ways. Now we're combining those solutions. But maintaining secrecy became increasingly challenging. The assembly, sensing something was changing, increased their monitoring efforts. Their ships appeared more frequently in coalition space. Their inspectors demanded more detailed technological assessments. "They know something's wrong," Admiral Torres warned during a secure coalition meeting. "They can feel their controls slipping, even if they don't know why. We need to accelerate our timeline." The coalition's hidden fleet grew larger each day. Earth's shipyards worked at full capacity, producing vessels that combined technologies from all member species. The Nexians transformed asteroids into massive crystal ships. The Valai created weapons that could disable assembly systems without destruction. "We're not just building ships," Dr. Chen realized as she watched the combined fleet take shape. "We're creating a new way for species to interact." The assembly built their power on control and separation. "We're building something based on cooperation and shared knowledge." The silent revolution was nearly complete. Soon, the assembly would discover that their carefully controlled galaxy had transformed beneath their feet. The species they had suppressed and exploited had not just developed new technology. They had developed a new way of existing together. The assembly's central control station hung in space like a metallic snowflake, its crystalline arms stretching 20 kilometers in every direction. Inside her quantum-shielded ship, Dr. Sarah Chen watched the final pieces of the coalition's plan fall into place. Hundreds of stealth vessels moved into position, invisible to the assembly's vaunted detection systems. "All teams report ready," Maya announced from her station, monitoring the quantum-encrypted communications network. "The Valai energy disruptors are in position. Nexian crystal ships have surrounded their primary communication hubs. The Krith infiltration units are standing by." Admiral Torres's voice came through the command channel. "Remember, this isn't about destruction. It's about revelation. Today, we show the galaxy the truth about their supposed protectors." The operation began with impossible silence. Valai energy forms slipped through the assembly shields, disrupting their quantum dampening networks. Krith biotechnology agents, disguised as routine maintenance systems, began corrupting the assembly's central databases. Human quantum viruses spread through their communications, preparing for the moment of truth. Signal detected from the Morgan sector, Maya reported. The assembly's resource extraction fleet is moving in. They're right on schedule. This was the moment they had waited for, as assembly ships approached the Morgan homeworld. Expecting another routine exploitation mission, they encountered something unprecedented. Their systems began failing, not through violence or direct attack, but through the precise application of technologies they had never imagined possible. Dr. Chen activated the quantum broadcast system they had spent months positioning throughout assembly space. To all species under assembly control, we are the coalition of free worlds. For millennia, the assembly has suppressed your technological development, restricted your growth, and exploited your resources. Today, that ends. Across thousands of worlds, beings watched in astonishment as their assembly-provided communication systems were overridden. The coalition's message continued, backed by irrefutable evidence drawn from the assembly's own databases. Proof of systematic suppression, records of deliberate technological sabotage, details of resource exploitation schemes. Your assembly-provided technology contains hidden restrictions, Dr. Chen explained to the galaxy. We are now transmitting instructions for removing these limitations. You will find that your own scientists and engineers have been capable of far more than the assembly permitted you to believe. The assembly's response was predictable. They attempted to activate their emergency control protocols, but the coalition had spent months preparing for this moment. Each attempt to reassert control was met with carefully prepared countermeasures. When they tried to shut down interstellar communications, the coalition's quantum network provided alternate channels. When they moved to seize critical resources, they found their ship's control systems mysteriously unresponsive. When they attempted to activate their secret weapon platforms, they discovered their command codes had been quietly altered. Assembly control ships approaching Earth, Maya announced. They're preparing to make an example of us. Let them come, Admiral Torres replied calmly. As the assembly's massive ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, they found themselves surrounded by vessels incorporating technology they had never seen before. Nexian crystal hulls powered by the Li energy cores, running on human quantum computers enhanced by Krith biotechnology. The assembly's high commander, a being of swirling metallic gas named Sarvel, appeared on their communication screens. This rebellion is futile. We have maintained order in this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your primitive coalition cannot hope to. Dr. Chen cut the transmission with a gesture. I think they've done enough talking. Maya, initiate Phase 2. Throughout assembly space, hidden quantum transmitters activated. The coalition's combined technology began systematically dismantling the assembly's control infrastructure. Dampening fields failed. Hidden restrictions in assembly-provided technology deactivated. Most importantly, the artificial barriers between species began falling. We're receiving transmissions from hundreds of worlds, Maya reported, her voice filled with excitement. Species are making contact with each other directly for the first time. They're sharing technology, combining their knowledge. The assembly's carefully maintained order was dissolving, not through violence, but through the simple act of connection. Species they had kept isolated for centuries were suddenly free to communicate, to trade, to share their discoveries. On the command deck, Dr. Chen watched the assembly's mighty control station power down as their systems were systematically isolated and contained. They thought they could control the galaxy by keeping us apart, by making us dependent on their technology. They never considered what would happen if we learned to work together. Admiral Torres nodded, studying the tactical displays showing assembly control systems failing throughout the galaxy. They built their power on secrets and separation. We built our strength on cooperation and shared knowledge. In the end, that made all the difference. The assembly's reign was ending, not with a devastating war, but with the quiet triumph of cooperation over control. As Dr. Chen watched their massive station drift powerless in space, She realized that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy hadn't been their technology. It had been their ability to bring others together, to show that different species could achieve more by working together than they ever could alone. The chains were breaking, and in their place, something new was being born. A galaxy where species would develop freely, sharing their discoveries and growing together. The Assembly's age of control was over. The age of cooperation was about to begin. 1 year after the Assembly's fall, the Grand Conference of Free Worlds convened in Earth's orbit. The massive space station, built through the combined efforts of 30 different species, represented everything the Coalition had fought for. Its architecture blended Nexian crystal engineering with Valai energy matrices and human quantum technology, creating spaces where all species could interact comfortably. Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck, watching ships arrive from across the galaxy. Each vessel was unique, incorporating technologies that would have been forbidden under Assembly rule. The sight filled her with profound satisfaction. This was what freedom looked like. "The latest development reports are in," Maya announced, joining her at the window. "The Krith have successfully terraformed 3 dead worlds using their unrestricted biotechnology. The Morrigan have transformed their mining operations into self-sustaining ecosystems. The Valais have created sustainable energy networks spanning entire sectors." The Assembly's fall had unleashed a wave of innovation across the galaxy. Species that had been trapped in technological stasis for centuries were finally free to develop according to their own paths. But more importantly, they were free to share their discoveries with others. "We've confirmed the last Assembly control station has been decommissioned," Admiral Torres reported during the conference's opening session. "Their leadership has accepted permanent restrictions on their activities. The age of suppression is officially over." But the Coalition faced new challenges. Freedom brought responsibility, and not every species was prepared for rapid technological advancement. Some worlds, long dependent on Assembly systems, struggled with the transition. Others, bitter about centuries of exploitation, called for revenge against their former oppressors. "We didn't fight to replace one form of control with another," Dr. Chen reminded the gathered representatives. "We fought for the right of all species to develop in their own way, at their own pace. Our role isn't to govern, it's to support and protect that freedom." The solution emerged organically. Instead of creating a new central authority, the Coalition established knowledge-sharing networks. Species could choose which technologies to adopt and develop, learning from others' experiences rather than following imposed guidelines. The former Assembly races, stripped of their power to control others, were offered a choice: isolation or integration as equals. Many chose to join the new galactic community, contributing their knowledge while learning to interact with other species as partners rather than subjects. "Look at this," Maya said excitedly, displaying data from the new quantum network. The Xin have combined their mineral processing technology with Nexian crystal growing techniques. They're creating entire space habitats from asteroid materials, and they're sharing the process with anyone who wants to learn. The galaxy was transforming. Where the Assembly had built barriers, the Coalition created bridges. Where they had enforced uniformity, the new order celebrated diversity. Each species was free to pursue its own path while contributing to the greater whole. Humanity's role evolved as well. Earth became known not for technological superiority, but for its ability to bring different species together, to help them find common ground and shared purpose. The quantum tunneling technology that had helped break the Assembly's control now connected a network of cultural and scientific exchange centers throughout the galaxy. "We've received a fascinating proposal from the Valai Krith Research Collective," Dr. Chen told her team. "They want to explore combining energy manipulation with biotechnology in ways none of us had imagined. This is exactly what we fought for. Species freely collaborating, pushing the boundaries of what's possible." The Assembly's prediction of chaos without their control proved false. Instead, species naturally formed cooperative networks based on shared interests and complementary capabilities. Trade flourished not through forced dependencies, but through genuine exchange of innovations and resources. 5 years after the revolution, the galaxy had changed beyond recognition. The Assembly's rigid hierarchy was replaced by a fluid network of partnerships and alliances. Their suppressed technologies gave way to an explosion of diverse innovations. Their controlled evolution of species was superseded by natural development and voluntary cooperation. During the 10th Grand Conference, Dr. Chen stood again at the observation deck, watching ships of countless designs moving through space. Each vessel represented a different approach to technology, a different way of solving problems, a different path of development. Yet they all moved together in an intricate dance of cooperation. Was it worth it? Admiral Torres asked, joining her at the window. All the risks we took, the years of secret preparation. Dr. Chen smiled, gesturing at the vibrant activity before them. Look out there. Every ship represents a species free to develop as they choose. Every new innovation represents knowledge freely shared. We didn't just break the Assembly's control. We showed the galaxy a better way to grow together. The new dawn had arrived, not as an imposed order, but as an organic network of free species working together. Humanity's greatest victory hadn't been defeating the Assembly. It had been showing the galaxy that true progress comes not from control, but from cooperation. The future was no longer a carefully managed progression, but an endless frontier of possibilities, limited only by imagination and the willingness to work together.